Hi everyone, my name is Steve and you are listening to Appalachian Dead Air. This is Jake's story, exactly as he told it on Appalachian Dead Air 10 years ago.
My friend Will's mom lived in a small town outside of Columbus, Ohio. He didn't visit her often, just when he needed money, which is why I'd driven out there. On his way back to Columbus, it had started raining hard. He took a wrong turn and ended up on a dirt road. That's when he found the farmhouse. It looks abandoned, he told me. A few of the windows are broken, half the roof is caved in, but there's still an AC unit in the backyard. The house is probably still full of copper. He asked me to come back to the house with him, help him load the copper into his truck. I told him I would. I was broke too, and I thought it would be easy money. Saturday night, he rang my doorbell. I looked through my peephole. He stood on my front steps, tweaking, twitching and scratching the scabs on his arms. "You ready?" he asked me. I said I was. I got into his truck, and he drove me out to the house. It took him a while to find it again. It was midnight by the time we finally got there. Like Will said, the house looked abandoned. The lights were off. The windows were broken. We shone our flashlights through a few of the windows to make sure nobody was inside. Didn't look like there was. The front door wasn't locked, so we just went in. I flipped the light switch in the living room and the lights turned on. The house still had power. Weird, Will said. I switched the lights off so nobody would see us. Then Will and I went to the kitchen. There's a small window above the kitchen sink looking into the backyard. In the yard I could see a water well with a ladder inside it. The phone rang. Will and I both jumped. "What the fuck?" he said. Then he noticed the copper wire running across the kitchen floor. It was going right out to the backyard, coming up from the basement. "Let's go see what's downstairs," Will said. We went to the basement. The wire was connected to an electrical panel. Then near the panel was a water heater. Copper pipes ran all across the ceiling. Then in front of the heater there were a few bloody bandages on the floor. "Maybe we should just go," I said. "We'll be out here in no time," Will told me. "I'll cut the pipes, you grab the wire, then we get the AC unit and go." He switched off the breaker, then he got to work cutting the pipes. I tore the wire off the electrical panel, wrapped it around my arm, and brought it back upstairs to the kitchen. But I kept following it, out to the backyard. The wire went right into the well. I shone my flashlight at the bottom of the well. I could just make out the entrance to the tunnel. I tried pulling the wire up, but it was connected to something. If I wasn't high, I probably would have just left and gone back inside, but I wanted to see what was down there. So I got on the ladder, climbed down. I was right. There was a tunnel. I went into it and just started walking forward. Soon, the tunnel opened to a massive underground cave. 100 feet below me, floodlights shone in metal cages. The cages were all full of people, too. Then there was something else standing in the darkness between the cages. Whatever it was, they didn't look human. They had white eyes that glowed in the dark. I felt my legs shaking. I ran back through the tunnel, climbed up the ladder, and ran back into the house. "We need to go," I yelled. "What's wrong?" Will asked. "We're not alone here." "You saw someone?" Before I could tell him what I'd seen, though, lights lit up the living room. Somebody had driven into the driveway. I ran into the basement. "We need to hide," I said. I saw the color drain from Will's face. He hid in a bedroom closet. I crawled into the crawl space beneath the stairs. The front door opened. Heavy footsteps moved across the living room floor. Then someone shouted, "Hello." His voice sounded strange, hollow. The phone rang again. He answered it. "I brought another one," he said. Then he went up the back door. Will came out of the closet and started walking upstairs. "What are you doing?" I asked him. "I'm getting out of here." "Are you crazy?" "I'm going to try to run back to those trees and call the cops." He looked into the kitchen, made sure nobody else was around, and then ran for the front door. Will managed to make it outside, but then 3 gunshots rang out and he started screaming. I covered my ears. I didn't want to listen to it. I felt sick. The back door swung open. "Is anyone else in here?" The same hollow voice again. I held my breath. He walked down the stairs. He sounded big, heavy. He turned on the lights. I can smell you in here, he said. I kept holding my breath, afraid to breathe. He walked into the bedroom and came towards the stairs. His face appeared in the crawl space. Chunks of dead skin flaked off his cheeks. Underneath the dead skin, his skin was green. There you are. He grabbed onto my shirt and dragged me out onto the floor. I'm sorry, I said. We thought this place was abandoned. More dead skin flaked from his arms. Underneath the skin, I saw green scales. He hit me in the face, knocked me to the ground. Then he dragged me upstairs. My head banged against the steps, and then everything just went black. When I woke up again, a bright light was shining in my eyes. Are you okay? A woman asked. I think so, I said. I was in one of those cages I'd seen before, inside that cave, sitting on a dirty mattress. My flashlight was gone, my wallet, my watch, everything else I'd had on me. My name's Brenda, the woman said. I'm Jake. The cage was filled with people. Most of them looked like they're the same age as me, in their 20s. Some were just kids, though, 10, 15 years old. Where are we? I asked. We call it the farm, Brenda said. I saw 2 white eyes watching me from the darkness on the other side of the cage. It had a big ball-like head that sat on top of 4 tentacles. What the fuck is that? I asked. We called them big heads. They look scary, but they won't hurt you. They just watch. It's the ones who look like us that you need to worry about. Brenda told me she was a prostitute. Earlier that year, while she was walking on the street, someone had forced her into a van and shoved a rag in her face. She'd woken up here, underground. She introduced me to a few other people in the cage. Dale, a drug addict, had fallen asleep on a park bench and then woken up here. And Travis, a teenager who'd run away from home and been grabbed off the street the same way Brenda had. Why are they keeping us here? I asked. All we know is that they want us to have kids, Dale said. If you help them with that, they leave you alone. Otherwise, after a few months, they drag you out of the cage. Drag you where? I asked. We don't know. All we know is you don't come back. Brenda was sleeping with Travis and Dale. She offered to sleep with me too, but I said no. I didn't want to do that. She'd already gotten pregnant once, but she'd miscarried. If she got pregnant again, she said she didn't know what she'd do. She didn't want to have a kid down there, but she didn't want to die either. What happens if you do have a kid? I asked. They don't let you keep it, she said. She looked so sad when she said it. One of the human-looking ones walked into our cage with 2 buckets of food, some kind of soup. Everyone ran to eat it. I was starving, so I went and ate some too. Every day in that cage, I kept staring up at the hole in the ceiling. I could just barely see the entrance to the tunnel. I knew that tunnel led back to the backyard behind that farmhouse. If I can get up to that ladder, I can get back above ground, I told Brenda. I'll find a phone and call for help. I've seen a few other people try to run, she told me. I don't think any of them made it. And even if they did, it didn't matter, it was still here. I promise if I can get out of here, I'm going to tell the whole world what's happening here. The next time the human-looking ones came into the cage, it wasn't to feed us. They walked toward a teen with long black hair. He moved to the other side of the cage, but they followed him. He fell to his knees. I'm sorry, he said. Just let me stay here, please. They dragged him out of the cage, though. He screamed for help, but then he disappeared into the darkness, and the screaming stopped. I promised myself I wouldn't die the same way. If I was going to die, I'd die fighting. I was going to run. I told my plan to Brenda. This place is a lot bigger than it looks, she said. I just need to make it past these cages, I told her. Then I'll follow the wall to the ladder. I'll climb back up above ground. If you do get out, don't forget about us, she said. I promised I wouldn't. The next time one of them came in, I did it. I ran past them, out into the darkness between the cages. One of the big heads let out a horrible hissing sound. Another set of white eyes appeared ahead of me. I turned between two other cages, though, kept running till I hit the cave wall. People in the cages started cheering me. "Run! Run! Get help! Call the police!" I crawled along the cage wall, following it toward the ladder. I wasn't too far from it, maybe 100 feet, when all of a sudden the ground gave way and I fell through the floor into a pool of blood. I flailed, scared I was drowning, but then my feet hit the ground. The blood came up to my shoulders. I waded through the blood, pushing forward, so frightened I could barely keep my thoughts together. I just kept telling myself I needed to escape. I needed to get help. Eventually I found a ladder out of the blood, brought me into another tunnel. The tunnel was filled with old TVs, and the TVs showed footage of people's homes, bathrooms and bedrooms and living rooms. I recognized my own bathroom in one of them, the pirate-themed shower curtain I'd bought at Walgreens hanging from the curtain rod. How the hell is there a camera inside my bathroom? Someone grunted. Farther into the tunnel, past the TVs, I saw human skin hanging from hooks on the walls. Then near the skin were a few blood-soaked tables. A human-looking butcher in coveralls stood at one of these tables, skinning a dead body. I crouched past him, ignoring the stink of rotted meat. I nearly slipped on all the blood, but I managed to catch my balance again. The butcher looked back. I thought he'd seen me, then he kept skinning the body, carefully peeling the skin off its leg. It was Will, I realized. His face hadn't been skinned yet. They must have dragged him down there after they killed him. I remembered what he told me before we'd driven out to the farmhouse. It would be quick, easy money. I nearly laughed, but I just kept creeping farther into the tunnel. Eventually, the tunnel brought me back into the larger cave. I looked up at the ceiling. I was only 20 feet from the ladder. I ran the rest of the way and started climbing up it. When I looked back at the cave, the darkness had filled with those white eyes. The ladder tore into my hands, but I ignored the pain and just kept climbing as fast as I could. I needed to get above ground again. I needed to get help. Then I made it. I climbed back up the ladder into the backyard. I looked up at the stars shining in the sky. The house was dark. Didn't look like anyone else was around either. I ducked below the windows, crept to the front yard. The driveway was empty. Will's truck was gone, and so was the van. I ran towards the trees across the road. Once I reached the trees, I crouched in the dirt. Then I just kept running through the fields, till I found a dirt road that brought me to the highway. By then, the sun was back up in the sky. A few cars drove past me. I kept waving at them until someone finally pulled over and gave me a ride to the police station. At the police station, I sat in a room with one of the detectives. I told him everything that had happened. I told him about the farmhouse, the well, the underground cages, the big heads, and the human-looking monsters with dead skin on their arms. He listened to me, but he didn't say anything. He just nodded, smiling along with my story. I knew what he was thinking. I was just another rambling schizo meth head who hadn't slept in a week. "What's the address of this house?" he asked me. I gave it to him. He promised to go there and look around. I hoped he would. It's been a week, though, and I still haven't heard anything about the farm on the news. And just last night, someone knocked on my door. When I looked through the peephole, I saw Will standing on my front steps. He wasn't twitching like he usually did. He wasn't scratching his arms. He just smiled at me with a mouth full of perfectly white teeth.